My name is Ella Iggulden and this is my story about Joseph. Me and my partner was really wanted a baby. I actually was born with a heart condition and they told me that I probably shouldn't, but went ahead anyway. So it was quite a tense pregnancy, but heart-wise I was amazing. But for a random reason I was 31 weeks pregnant and I got there absolutely fine, which is mad. My waters just broke. So went into hospital, spent the day making sure everything was okay. They gave me some injections to strengthen baby's lungs because obviously in case he came. I remember going to sleep and waking up the one night in hospital and having tightenings, so I thought, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And it all happened really quick. I remember being monitored because his heart rate was dropping, and sadly he pooed inside, you know, is it meconium? I think that's what it's called. So they had to rush him out. So I had an emergency cesarean, so I was asleep, which was sad because I didn't kind of get to see it all. My family saw him as they whizzed him out in the neonatal, but I hate to say a box, but yeah, my family got to see him for a short period of time, but obviously I was still out of it. He was very, very poorly. He actually had an infection called Group B Strep, which is it's not known actually, which it should be, because my waters had broke, he wasn't protected, so he caught an infection. And it just took over him. They tried so hard to save him, but he was just too weak from the infection. It had just been too long. So he only lived a few hours. It was his 15th birthday this year.
At the time, was there bereavement rooms at the hospitals?
You are around the corner from it all, but you can still hear people, in labour. You still have to leave through the same doors where you see people leaving with the babies. And it was awful 2 weeks. I mean, if it wasn't for my family, I don't know what would have happened. They practically were in that room with me 24/7, but and the room was never clean because I don't think people wanted to come in because they knew what had happened. So we kind of just took over it ourselves. But yeah, there wasn't anything separate.
How old were you when
I was 18.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
So very, very.
Yeah, I was very. Yeah, it was.
Such a young age.
Yeah.
And what support did you have after that?
From the hospital, or
just in general.
Family was amazing. Yeah, family have always been amazing, and without them, I think anyone who has to do it without family must be horrific. There wasn't really much support back then. You know, it was a long time ago. You never got to do what they do now with babies with the cold cots. So there was a case of he got took away, he was in the mortuary, and you never got to do any of that sort of thing. Whereas I know now through seeing it, you know, in the magazines, that they spend time with the baby, which I will always say to people that must do. So I never got that chance. I never got to bath him or anything like that.
And do you have any advice for parents that are going through this? What helped you and your partner get through such? I know that you're probably still going through it now, but is there anything that helped you tackle day to day?
I always remember the first time we laughed. I know this is a stupid thing to say. I think it was like I came home after 2 weeks after losing Joseph, and it's about a month later, and we just messed around him. We were staying at my mum's at the time, and we were just messing around with this cardboard box, and we ended up having a play for it. And it was the first time I remember laughing after losing him, and I thought it was like a bit of a glimmer of, you know, it's going to be okay. We did concentrate, if I'm honest, on having another baby, because although a baby never replaces the baby you've lost, when you've longed for a baby for so long and you were told not to have one, we kind of concentrated on that, but we talked about him and we remembered him, and that's one thing I would say. You know, don't shy away from your baby. Talk about what's gone on and all the things they offer after now, bathing and stuff like that. 100% do it, because you'll never ever get that chance again. And a lot of people say no and then they do regret it. But I can honestly say I'd do it if I could.
Children of yours?
I've had another boy.
Aww.
Yeah.
Well,
2 years later.
What was that pregnancy like? Was it nerve-wracking
yeah.
because you're thinking about that?
No, it was. It was like I was reliving every day. So I was working at the time. So when Joseph went into labour, when I went into labour with him at 31 weeks, I stopped working at 29 weeks because I thought, right, I'm going to prepare myself.
Yeah.
And in fact, he actually came early too. So he came at 34 weeks. So yeah, I kind of, it was a hard pregnancy, but I was so determined to get baby at the end. That sounds awful, but you know. So yeah, no, we literally was just on edge.
Yeah.
And for him to come early again, obviously it was the same situation, but luckily it was fine.
And each year, I don't know if you do anything. Do you do anything?
Yeah, and we do a butterfly release every year. I know. So we at first we wasn't sure, and we started to do like a little party, and people around us would be very judgmental. They'd be like, "Well, why? He's not here." But why not? You know, there's babies that are born younger than 31 weeks that live and survive.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't for a stupid infection, he'd be here. And we carried on with the parties, and then I think we got to about his 10th birthday, and we were like, we need to do something else. So we did the butterfly release. So we get the caterpillars and we grow them a month before, and then we do it on his actual birthday. So at the cemetery because he's buried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does your other son, do you talk about
Yeah.
pregnancy?
He knows all about Josie. We didn't hide anything. There's photo around the house. He's been through his little memory box that the hospital give you, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
That's what they give you.
I want to give you a massive hug because you've been through a lot, haven't you? Because you've gone through that, and then how old did you have a heart transplant?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
27.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Whirlwind.
So the 2 pregnancies took its toll on my heart, but there was nothing going to stop me from having a baby.
Yeah.
Jake is who keeps me going. He's my other boy, and obviously my family. But I just think for all the fighting I've done and all the pain I've been through, then I've got to carry on. You know, you have to. Especially for my donor. I mean, I know it's not about that, but you have to keep going. And I will always keep Joseph's memory alive, as well as trying to be positive about the situation as well.
And in regards to your partner,
Yeah.
how's he been through it all? Is he a guy that speaks about his emotions? Like, from a dad's perspective, how has he kind of got on with it, and is there anything that's helped him?
I can tell that he was strong for me. He, never showed his feelings about him. And then I think it was 2 years ago, so it would have been his 14th or 13th birthday. He just broke down the 1 year, and I'm not sure why, and I don't think he knew why. And I was like, it's probably because you've always been so strong for me. I always remember someone crossing the street when they saw me after I lost him, and I think for anyone who, from the perspective of, say, if you've got a friend who's lost a baby, mention their name. Don't cross the street when you see him. It's like the worst thing you can do. It's an insult.
Yeah.
Talk about them, ask them how they are. When people mention Joseph to me, it means so much. Yes, okay, it gets me upset, but they remember him, and it just means a lot. Like, we didn't have any children when we lost Joseph, which was really difficult. Like, I think if you'd already got kids, you'd kind of got something to keep going for. So obviously we did find that really hard, and there was times I didn't want to be here. What Joseph died of, the group B strep, is when it comes up the month, like when you're about the awareness, I tend to share it, but I know I've got friends that are pregnant, but that one share of a post could save that baby's life. If your waters go before 35 weeks, there's like a test you can have to see if you're a carrier of it.
Okay.
I never got that, and that's fine, but then someone else might, just by sharing it. And a lot of people say to me, oh wow, I never even knew what that was.
Yeah.
And it's like a really cheap test that you can actually do yourself.
Yeah.
So, if that's another thing, like, you don't want to scare people, but, and it turns out one of my friend's grandchildren actually had that, and she knew because of what I'd said.
Yeah.
And you just like, if you get them antibiotics in you quick, you know, it could save baby's life. So back then, it was such a taboo subject, and I mean, it probably still is now, but not as much as it was 15 years ago. You couldn't mention it, you know. It was so weird, and whereas now, you're hearing it of babies dying a lot more, and miscarriages, and sadly they've got things wrong with them. So you know what, although it's hard for pregnant women to have to hear, the fact that the knowledge is power, you know, they might hear something that can help them throughout their pregnancy. So yeah, although it will be scary, you know, it's always best to hear other people's stories. If you can you please donate to the Eden Sweet Fund and help bereaved families like me? Thank you.